Smartly Uneducated is hands down the greatest podcast in the world. But be warned, this one is not for the faint of heart. With topics ranging from true crime to conspiracy theories, this podcast doesn't shy away from violence or controversial content. Their slogan,
"Oh, we're going to Pluto to see alien titties,"
or
and suck on it till you get some raw milk,
isn't just a catchy tagline. It's the truth. These hosts have a world of knowledge that expands across the cosmos. If you are looking for a podcast that will make you laugh, make you think, and make you reevaluate your life choices, tune into Smartly Uneducated and join the uneducated madness.
What's up, y'all? I'm Evan from Smartly Uneducated.
Hey,
That's Ben.
hey, what's up, man? I'm smartly uneducated. Is that what you do now? Like, I'm smartly uneducated. I'm smartly uneducated. I'm smartly uneducated. You fucking have all different people, different cultures around the world, all saying I'm smartly uneducated.
Do we need to change our intro? We need to change our intro to that, don't we? Just have
Oh
a bunch
God.
of AI cloned voices having like Donald Trump and Barack Obama say it.
Dude, that's genius. I want... Go ahead.
I'm smartly uneducated. It's me. I'm smartly uneducated.
I want it to go to like fucking those like racist towns that are in Arkansas and Louisiana and fucking Georgia and Kentucky where it's like full on KKK guys. Them just standing there with like their fucking suspenders on with part of a white pointy hat on. They're like, I'm smartly uneducated.
That's genius. I love that idea.
And then we could switch to like some young black folk, you know, like seasoned veteran black folk, and they're all like armed to the teeth, you know, militarized, and they're like, and we're the hunters of smartly uneducated.
You're smartly uneducated. Now we are too.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm on the black people's side with that one. Fuck
Yeah,
those
same.
racist pieces of shit.
Big time, same. Big time.
Oh, big time. So today, I really want to jump into the episode, my man.
Yeah. So I want to ask how you want to tackle this. Do you want to talk about the issue and then the side effects and then what happened, or do you want to talk about what happened? Like, how do you want to go about this? Because I think it'd be important to lay down like the issues.
How about this? What if I give it like a little intro? Because I do have a little piece here that I put together. Sorry, I just popped into the mic real hard.
Yeah, you did.
I did not mean to do that. I apologize.
I think it'd be a good idea to lay down the timeline. So whenever they initially did the task of burying this thing in Hawaii, I think it'd be a good idea that we hit that point and then what happened and then the after effects of everything and how it affected Hawaii.
Yeah, so timeline wise, it was actually sorry, I have it right here. It was November 20th of 2021.
Okay, no. It happened way before that. So they buried him.
Yes, sorry. There's multiple dates involved in this.
Okay, gotcha. I want to start as early as possible and then build our way up to the most current timeline.
Okay, I'll let you. I don't have that other stuff in front of me. I know what you're talking about. I just don't have it in front of me. So why don't you go ahead and do the early date shit? Well, you know, the stuff that they're not pushing out there too heavily.
Gotcha. Okay, so in Hawaii, Pearl Harbor specifically, surrounded by all the memorial sites and all the beautiful blue water, they have the bunker of Red Hill. Red Hill Bulk is what they refer to it as. It's the Pearl Harbor base on Hickman on Oahu. There it is, Oahu. So this thing was built in World War II to be prepared for the Japanese troops. It then got bombed, and then in a retaliation and in a effort to help the people of Hawaii in case of an attack, they began to bury what they have there, and it's jet fuel. So the biggest issue here is jet fuel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had millions of gallons. I think it was 2.8 million gallons of jet fuel on the surface of Hawaii, and they wanted to bury it in case of an attack. So over a 3-year cycle, they buried all of these million gallons of tanks, and the tanks were so large that they were able to hold the base of the Statue of Liberty. So these things were enormous. They were
Yeah.
unfathomably large. I
And
found
just
an
so
image
you,
online of
I want
them.
to add in how many fuel storages containers there were. So
Please.
there was so the original plan was to bury 4 fuel containers horizontally in a hillside. So basically into the mountainside, right? Because there's like, there are mountains out there. Like, or I say mountains, it's it's Hawaii. So it's like a mountainous but volcanic type island. But the original plan was to bury 4 fuel containers, but it ended up being expanded upon after the initial 4. And now what they have there is over, and does not give an exact amount, over 20
Yep.
vertical storage tanks, each large, and they're each large enough to oh, why is it not loading? Come on, what the hell?
So each one can hold
Yeah,
12.5
you take that,
million.
please.
Each of them can hold 12.5 million gallons.
Yeah.
So in the early stages, after they got attacked in Pearl Harbor and they wanted to mitigate the issue, they only had about 2.5 million. And then once they started burying, they realized, hey, we need to put all of our American jet fuel here. So they buried everything they had. And each tank was 100 feet in diameter and 200 feet deep. So this thing, they're enormous, truly huge.
hmm
And it
I
was
feel,
all
yeah.
connected by only 3 pipes that run 2.5 miles underneath Pearl Harbor. So
And
it was, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sorry, I want to give clarification on those pipes. So those pipes are not, just so y'all are aware. I mean, I know this is old news in a way. It's pretty recent though, as and when it comes to like environmental hazards and situations that have happened. Like it's still recent. I mean, this was in the past few years. So
No, it's the past 5 days. Well, as of this recording, it's like 5 days, 6 days to where they have filed lawsuits and the people have
oh,
won.
yeah, no, I'm saying it's still
So it's
ongoing. I'm saying it
yeah, it's still
happened.
ongoing.
The incident happened like just a few years ago. It wasn't like it
2021.
happened. Yep, it's not like it just it happened 10 years ago or 30 years ago. So I'm just making sure to clarify that. But those pipes that are the main 3 pipes that carry all this fluid to and from, they're not like these like little baby pipes that are like garbage and they're low grade, they're thin. Like no, these are heavy duty fucking pipes. Like they're like, and this isn't me saying this as like a defense thing, like as in taking the military side or the government side for the fuck up they did. No, 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 no. That's not what I'm doing at all. I'm just explaining how heavy duty the setup was, but they still had a goddamn leak. They still had a
No, so
fucking leak. Like
you're mistaken. So the setup wasn't all that great. There's a video of the leak actually happening that got released.
yeah, where the leak happened was dog shit. Like
It
they
was a
fucked up.
it was a plastic PVC pipe that was
Yes.
hanging so low from the 80 years of deterioration
Yeah.
underground there that
Well,
a golf cart that they were driving in the tunnels hit and it broke it.
yeah, well, I was trying to make the point that the pipes themselves, the straightaways, the
Okay, gotcha.
transfer pipes, those were heavy duty. Those were like up to par and beyond like what they should be. Like they were good. It was everything else that was a fucking failure. And it was horribly and flawed, and they did not even update them to be like onto a construction type standard to where they would not have a leak or they wouldn't break easy. Like they really fucked the pooch on that. That's what I was trying to get at. Like not the I was trying to say the pipes weren't the problem. It was everything else because they would not put in the work or the money or the effort to make it robust and how it should be for something of this magnitude. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to state that.
for time's sake, they were built in 1940 ish, around those years, 1940s, the early years, and then 2021 is when they had the catastrophic failure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those things have been there for a whole lifetime.
Yeah. No, 100%. And what I think is really um I really want to explain something. I want us to dive in first into so people can get a good idea of this leak, right? Like the magnitude of the quantity, and then also like to dissuade the bullshit that if you were to Google this, it will say, if you look up like, hey, out of the storage, how much was leaked, things like that. The government and the military tried to take a route of saying like, well, it was a very tiny leak, because they are saying what they are doing is they're pulling the numbers and they're saying, well, our storage holds, whatever, millions and millions of gallons, and we only leaked just this point whatever percent of the gallons.
Yeah.
And that point whatever percent of the gallons will literally so the total leaked was like 21,000, around 21,000 gallons, right? And that's an estimate. And they know there might be more, because I'm looking at it right here. So there may be actually be more than 21,000 that leaked, because the way they measure their tanks is actually very fucking similar to how I used to have to measure fuel tanks when I was doing fuel and building gas pumps and all that stuff. Bro, they're using the same old school fucking bullshit method that was from like the 60s to
Mhm.
measure these tanks. And I'm like, what? Dude,
Well,
like,
they just put a big stick down the center of it and measure how deep it goes.
no, it's damn near, it's almost like that. So what
Yeah.
it is, so people understand how they measure these tanks, imagine having a big twist knob, right? And in this big twist knob, there's a pipe that's connected to it. In that pipe is a metal tape measure. It's like aluminum, like kind of like a measuring tape that you would buy for, at like Walmart or something. It's kind of like that. So they would take it. It's inside. It's built up. It's wrapped up and coiled up inside this twist knob, and this metal like aluminum measuring tape goes up through this pipe, bends over when it gets to the very top of it, and then drops down inside the tank. And there's like all these like floater devices that are built into it. And you take this knob and you twist it around until it hits it has a predefined stopping point. You get to it, you let go of it, and then you'll see that thing, because it has a sight gauge inside the metal tube, so you can see the measuring tape. And you'll see it move, and then when it finally stops, it will go like this, and it has like a little indicator where it's like, hey, if it's at this mark right here, then that's how many foot of where it is from the top of the tank, so you can measure the height of it, right? And then how
Yeah.
much is below it. So like they have a system for it. But dude, that's what they had on some of these tanks. And I'm just like, what? You're using, dude, that's like me walking outside and seeing a tornado and going, I don't think it's gonna rain today. Like, what the fuck? Like, oh my god. Anyways,
This is an F1 tornado, not an F5. Get it right.
yeah, we got nothing to worry about, dog. Nothing there at all. But anyways, before you continue on, because I know that this is what you were talking about, so with the fuel tanks itself, so 21,000 gallons, just so people understand how much that is. So let's just say it is the strictly 21,000 gallons that was leaked into the local's water supply. When you have here's a good example. If a fuel truck who is delivering to a gas station in your neighborhood where you live, and it were to crash, and all the fuel in this giant tanker were to dump out everywhere. So we're talking like 3 to maybe 5,000 gallons of fuel. Maybe 5, but that's an exception. That's rare to find one that's going to have 5 grand of 5,000 gallons in it. Realistically, it's going to be about a 3 to maybe 4,000 gallon tank. And they don't even fill them up. That's just capacity wise. So rule of thumb, we'll just say 3,000, because you never fill them up 100% full, because of fumes and heat and things like that. It's got to be able to expand. So what I'm getting at is, if one of those were to wreck and dump fuel all over the road, and it be right next to like a creek or whatever, they would be shutting shit down like hardcore real quick. The local water municipal districts, they would literally put out a massive disclosure and a PSA, like an emergency PSA, saying like, hey, do not drink fucking the water. Do not drink the fucking water. Like, hell, don't even shower for the next 24 hours until we're able to tell you if it's safe to even let this shit get in your skin and soak in. They would literally do that, because they've done it here where I live numerous times. I know of a few other places that do that. They will shut it down. And until they're able to like try to clean that water out somehow, if it's possible.
Well, that's the protocol. If you have a contamination, you don't let
Yeah.
anybody use the contaminated item, especially with your knowledge, before you can verify that it's
Yeah.
okay. But that's the biggest issue that happened, right? The
Mm.
Navy said that it was okay to use and drink.
Yeah, and that was the part I was about to jump into, was just so people had the idea, like if
Mm-hmm.
you know that locally, if a 3,000 gallons got spilled into a water supply that goes to, let's say, a million, or let's say, I guess you could say close to a million people here where I live,
Yeah,
just in my
absolutely.
little area, like my little like 3 cities that are put together, there's at least a million people here. I would say around a million, close to it. So it's like, if they're willing to do that because of 3,000 gallons, what the fuck was going on with the Red Hill thing? Because that was 21,000 and potentially more. And they're all like, oh, that shouldn't hurt anyone. Why would jet fuel hurt someone? Mom, mom. Like, that's what they were doing. They're like, oh, we're sorry. Sorry.
So how many gallons are in one of those 18-wheeler transport trucks?
Depending on the truck, like I said, it's gonna more realistically probably be around 3,000 to 4,000. It just depends on the tanker, because there are different tankers out there. But they're never gonna have them completely full. They'll have them like between just over, like anywhere between seven, so 3/4, so like 75% full to maybe 80 or 85. But it also depends on the region you're in. Like, what if you're in a place where it's cold all the time, like way up north, where it doesn't get hot, they'll probably have them more full. Like, they'll have them at like 90% capacity, 95. But like
So
down here in Texas and like
that
Oklahoma, Kansas, this whole area, no, they're gonna have it less.
so that's like the equivalent of having 7 to 8 trucks just pull up and unload their entire fuel capacity into the drinking water,
Yeah,
right?
and so people, yeah, no, literally, it's no different than them backing them up, opening the valves, and emptying them out completely bone dry. But the thing is, just so people know, this didn't leak in the ocean. Like, because when you think Pearl Harbor, and like the over there in that area, you think, oh, it's like they're probably there on the coast. No,
Wrong.
it's on the mainland. It's all the way up there. It was leaking into the locals' water supply, not
So
from the fucking ocean. It was not
the
in the ocean.
craziest part that I found is that they built this fuel storage tank 100 feet above the entire island's drinking water. And the second it leaked, it began to flood right into the aquifer of everyone's drinking water. And there was nothing they could do about it.
Yeah, it's really fucked up. But yeah, sorry. If I deviated us, I don't feel like I did, but if you were about to go a different direction from what you were saying earlier, I just wanted to make sure to say that so people had a good idea before we start diving more into this, because that's a very important context to have and narrative to understand before we just start peeling back into all the other aspects of this situation. So I just wanted to make sure to say that.
No. That's important information to have context of how much fuel was actually released. Whenever they say that there was 20 million gallons and only 21,000, or what the military says is 19,377 gallons were released.
They
A
say
very
19, but that's not accurate.
yeah, not accurate at all. Very oddly specific and a little out there, right? So
Yeah.
the Navy's the Navy says a lot of things to cover up what they did. Um, in reality, it was about 21 plus thousand gallons that were released and into the drinking water, which then affected everybody in the entire island's showering, cooking, cleaning water. Imagine your child is drinking water and then they begin to get hives on their skin and they begin to lose hair and cough and
And other
begin to
unknown health conditions that no one's ever really experienced, because not like there's not really a history of people just drinking jet fuel. That's
yeah.
like that's not normal at all. It's such an extreme rare thing. to have a large quantity of people all ingesting jet fuel. No one's ever had to deal with that before. No one's ever had that. No, like nothing.
Yeah,
So
it was truly concerning. And the Navy's response was so lackluster. They were more focused on preventing further environmental damage than they were the humans that were and the animals that were consuming it. So they
yeah,
would go to they'd go to people's houses, test the water, and find out that it's 300% over the necessary amount, or rather, the safe amount of jet fuel to intake, which to me, 0% is a good amount, not 300 plus. I think the highest estimated they found was 352% of their water was jet fuel.
yep. And one of the things you mentioned earlier, you had talked about, or you had mentioned them hitting that plastic PVC deal in like a
Yeah.
little golf cart. So I have something to add to that. So one of the what they're saying was the cause, right? They tried to come out. So the cause, the true cause, the real leak that was happening that leaked so much fuel was actually corrosion that weakened the integrity of the tanks, like leading to the release of thousands of gallons. And the corrosion was in the fuel tank's infrastructure, like within the, basically the tank lining is what failed on some of these tanks. And they're trying to say, they tried to say it was due to like they tried to play it off to like that PVC thing. But the real reality was is that the tanks that they had in there, they hadn't been upkeeping them. They hadn't been checking when they need to be switched out. And they found out in these investigations when they got because a third party did get involved that was not military. And when they got involved and started looking into it, that's when they inspected some of the tanks from the exterior. And then they saw what these tanks looked like from the exterior. And they're like, dude, there's shit leaking out of this thing. Like, it's coming from the tank too. It's not just this fucking piece of plastic over here. And that whole opened the whole of the can of worms. But here's a little controversy. This is where some controversy starts to come into play. When that was identified, the military cut out every third party. No one's allowed to go look at any other tank of any kind at all. Like,
Yeah.
no joke. They kicked them out. So they only got to get eyes on one tank. Other than that, they got kicked out. So now we have no idea. There could be others that are leaking, and no one's gonna fucking know about it at all because they cut out the public.
So they cut out the public, only to let them know a week later that there was a leak. So people have been drinking this water for 6 to 7 days, and there was a testament that I have here of a quote from this lady, Mai Hall, I believe her name is. Yes, Mai Hall, Maihall, saying they noticed that she noticed the smell of the jet fuel, the fuel in the water, and then the next day it became apparent with the headaches, the nausea, the bloody stools, and that the animals that we had were vomiting. She was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna die." We knew something was wrong, and it was kind of like a post-apocalyptic world that we were living in
Yeah.
because everything was failing. Right? They couldn't drink the water. They had nothing was potable, and they were concerned because nothing was being done. Nothing was being said to them. And it took the Navy a week to say anything. And it was more of like oh, hey, by the way, there might have been a fuel leak in the water. Just an
Yeah.
FYI, we're going to come around and give everybody some water just in case.
Yeah. And before we jump into the really heart throbbing parts of this whole thing that are just really sad because it, when it comes to like the impact of human health, right? Or just life, like health of living beings. Let's talk about the impact on the environment first. I'd rather touch on the light shit before we get into the heavy shit.
Okay.
I say light shit, like don't get me wrong, it's still horrible that's happening to the and the impact is made on the environment over there. But you don't a plant doesn't feel what we feel. You know what I mean? On a conscious level. So it's like, at least not in the same way. So it's It's a little heavier hitting when you get into like the kids and stuff like that were affected by this and the locals. But on the environmental side, so the soil and groundwater obviously were like heavily contaminated. Um, it's literally poisoning all the surrounding ecosystems, um, and the entire area. Now where it goes into kind of like the marine life aspect of like what does it affect to other things in the water, like fish, things of that nature. They were finding tons of dead fish, in rivers and creeks, tons of them, because it's all interconnected, and this is like
Mm-hmm.
down away from it, so like on the downhill side from the Red Hill fuel deposit, storage facility. And they were finding tons of dead fish, like all forms of marine life. I mean, we're talking like dead frogs, the works. I don't remember what all you know what I'm talking about. Like, you just think of what all water life you see in rivers and creeks. It was all fucking dead, all dead, within a large radius. And then that's just the marine life. The actual like plant life, like the soil, like what lives in the soil, so trees, fucking grass, you name it, anything that lives off that part of the ecosystem. So get this. This is the other part that I want to state, and this is not a fucking conspiracy. This is like a fact. Just literally Google Oahu residents claim, like they can't go to certain parts of the mountain or of the island. So I found this yesterday, and basically what it was saying was like there was testimonies. Now there's no pictures, and the reason why there's no pictures is pretty obvious. So basically, they don't record shit out there. Like the news coverage is extremely minimal, like extremely minimal. Like shit was getting like they were cutting people out. Um, and basically what these locals were seeing was that when they would go to that part of the mountain trying to, because they could literally see that the vegetation was dying. They could see like, the trees, things like that, were like wilting and like literally slumping down. Like everything was like, because it was dying. It was like as if it was going into like winter or some shit, and
Mm-hmm.
shit's dying out. And it was like, leaves were falling off, stuff like it was literally withering away and dying. And it was like this massive area of Oahu, which was actually in the direct line of where the storage tanks are, leading up to them, like on the downhill side. And when residents would try to go, what the fuck is going on over here? Like, what, inquiring for more information, they were being met by military that were quarantining the place off and going, you can't come here. And they're like, yeah, we can. This isn't military owned property. And they're like, nope, we don't care. Out. We run it now. And they were kicking people out because they didn't want people to see the endless acres of dead trees, grass, vegetation. Like this thing impacting the environment super fucking bad over there. And it's still impacting it now. We don't even know what the long-term effect is going to be on that area with having jet fuel like that just dumped in such a high concentration into that area. There's
Yeah,
no
I mean,
fucking telling.
there's no way to tell. It's going to affect the farm. It's going to affect anything that has to do with the food. So imagine that they're taking the fuel water and putting it into the crops to make corn. Are they going to get super crops, jet fueled up crops that are going to be bigger than badder than ever? I fucking doubt it. They're probably going to be poisonous or die or nothing will grow. There's
Yeah.
just no way to tell, as Ben just said, that the never-ending side effects of this is truly devastating. That the Navy had this leak so bad. Not to mention, this is not their very first one. They've had 72 other leaks in this fucking Red Hill bunker, equivalent. Oh my god, equaling over 183,000 gallons have been spilled out of that bunker over the past 80 years, and this is what they decided to shut it down. So,
Wait, whoa, what? Back up.
yes, the
Back up.
EPA released a document saying that
How much? Say the number again. I gotta hear that.
183 gallons of fuel.
183 gallons. That's it.
Oh, 183,000?
Oh, okay. Okay, 183,000. I thought you said 183 gallons. I'm like, but that's not really that's far less than what we talked about. Damn,
Yeah,
dude,
the
183,000.
EPA. Yeah, the EPA released a document saying that ever since 1943, the facility has experienced 73 leaks, resulting in the release of more than 183,000 gallons of fuel.
You know, it's funny
And
you
then
say that. It's funny you say that because I came across a deal talking about how there was locals on and off over the past like roughly like 50 years, all like claiming and wondering, what it was causing like these certain health effects that were happening. Like there was random cases that would come in random waves and spikes just at random of like large quantities of people in this local area getting really, really fucking sick, breaking out in like rashes, hives, puking. There were some deaths from were all saying like an unknown illness because they didn't know what the fuck was causing it. People were just getting sick all of a sudden. And if this is tied into those moments, which sounds to me like there's a pretty damn good chance that it is. Like, what the fuck? Like, why?
Yeah,
How can anyone get away with this kind of atrocious thing? Like, it's so fucking horrible, man. Like, it's so fucking
and
horrible.
so I looked into if any of the people who were in charge of the Red Hill bunker faced any charges or anything whenever they first buried it, because they did it willingly and knowingly above the water supply of Oahu. But these individuals had since retired and no longer work for the military, and some of them have died. So there's nobody to be held accountable except for the current Navy, but nobody can go to jail for it. Nobody can be punished other than paying for these people's medical expenses for the rest of their lives,
That's so
which
fucked.
is
That's so fucked.
incredibly fucked up, dude. It's incredibly fucked up.
Yeah, and what was it? So one of the other things,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you
Mhm.
happen to see any of the photos that people released of the oil on their water?
I did see some photos and like not videos, but I saw photos, and I don't. That was the one part that I wanted to get into. Not like I'm not talking about with this. I'm just talking about when I was researching, but I just ran out of time, so I did not pull that stuff to have readily available for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have some here, but it looks like there's like somebody took a water dropper, like what you would take for like tinctures or like a little droplet, and it started dropping oil into it and then swirled it around in your water, and it's very prominent on top, and it has this color and hue to it. It's awful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. It's so fucking bad. Um, but one of the other things, there's now this would be more in towards the the human health aspect. So one of the other things that like I didn't even think about until I came across it was talking about like how what it will do to the breathing air in where you are. Even though we're talking about it being in a water supply, there's also the air quality aspect. And I didn't think about that because I'm thinking like, oh, it's in the water supply, you're ingesting it. That's the extent, right? Like that's the catalyst. That's what's gonna be how it affects you and fucks you up and all that stuff. Turns out, no, the fuel. So fuel evaporates differently than like gasoline does, right? Like you could take gasoline on a hot day, pour a cup of it on the sidewalk, and it's gonna act like literally within 10 to 30 seconds, it's gonna look like there was never fuel there ever because it'll evaporate away very, very, very fast, right?
Yep.
Even though there's still residual there, you just visually cannot see it with your eyes. Um, but they're saying that evaporating fuel and volatile organic compounds, VOCs, contribute to poor air quality and pose high respiratory risks for residents in the vicinity of the leak site. So apparently jet fuel, produces like heavy concentrated VOCs, which was the volatile organic compounds that are air, they're not air. I'll just say airborne. They're airborne type, um, hazardous things that you can breathe in, and apparently it will evaporate through the soil. Eventually, it will separate itself and evaporate upwards as the like anything. Once it starts to get under any type of certain degree of temperature, it will evaporate itself. Like there will be contaminants coming off of it. Now, the liquid itself may still be there, but what is evaporating off of it, it does it at a slow enough rate that the liquid doesn't disappear like gasoline does. So it will stay seeped into the area that it's in while also producing extreme high toxins going into the air. And it will work its way out. And that's been happening this whole time. And there's been
So I'm
so
I'm very happy you brought up the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, because this has happened before at Camp Lejeune in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Between 1953 and 1987, the base's water was contaminated with VOCs. For Marines and the families and civilian employees, which caused cancer and birth defects and other illnesses. So this has already fucking happened before. And they
this
didn't
isn't
stop it,
anything new. Nothing new.
which is insane to me. This just really goes to show that they really do not care about their people. I know we've said it before, right? Every time we talk about the military and their fuck ups and how they truly do not care about the civilians, the people out here, this is just another prime example, right? Just another prime example that we are nobody to them.
Yeah, I think it's really weird because you got these fucking cake eaters up there behind their desk, because that's what they are. They're a bunch of fucking paper pushing cake eaters now. It's really weird when I've been able to have conversations with close friends of mine who are in the military, and I got to make new friends who are very much life invested in the military. Like they're still in it now. Like they've been doing this for. Some of them have been in for almost 15 years at this point, right? And they talk about how when, these guys who are like their leaders now that are problematic, that they know don't give a fuck. And they openly tell me about like, yeah, they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck at all. And,
No.
and they're like, not all of them are like that. He said, but all the people who are like really high up in power end up not giving a fuck because they work with other people. And then it becomes this big political game, right? And, it's really fucked up because he was, they've all said it to me where when they were grunts themselves and they were in their shoes back in their early of their parts of their career or whatever, they were the type of guys who were all like, power to the people, protect the American citizens, like all that shit. Like they were like normal level-headed people. But he said it's like this weird switch happens that when they move up and they take on these mantles of these positions that are higher up, all of a sudden something switches in them and they like their moral ethical compass just fucking disappears. And it just
What happens when you start getting paid a lot of money?
I think it's more than that. Just from everything we've seen of things being released through the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, and then other information that's come to light due to some cases that have happened, not a case like this particularly, but just other information about the military getting out and other political games that have been going on that we're all having to deal with all the time. It's very apparent now that when you get up into there, it's not necessarily about money. It's everyone's getting owned. Something's happening where someone's putting leverage on someone. There's blackmail going on. There's a whole treasure trove. Like it's like one of these things where like, or career enders where they're like, listen, we want to do this. If you don't do it, we're the ally you have to make if you want to be able to do this. And if you don't do this, then you're not going to get that and your career's over. And they're like, and if you don't play ball, someone else will. So what are you going to do? That's literally the narrative that has been exposed. And the fact that no one is doing anything to stop this. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? I keep thinking about taxes, and I'm sorry, and I'll move away from this just 30 seconds. But this whole narrative about how like people stop giving a fuck, right? And they start doing these very unmoral, unethical things. It makes me feel like it just makes me think of the taxes, right? Like right now, we pay taxes on literally everything. Literally everything, even though we've already paid our taxes constantly, and it's an extremely high amount. It's like, fuck, dude, it makes me think of back in, when we were like, man, fuck the British. 2% tax? Fuck off. We went out there and we fucked them up, kicked them out. Fuck your tea. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden now, it's like in this day and age, everyone's like, oh, you're going to pay like 40% tax by the end of everything. Almost 50% taxes is what you're actually paying realistically by the time you get done paying for every little thing we tax you for. And everyone's all like, all right, here's my wallet. Like, what the fuck happened? Like, our founding fathers would be like, what the fuck? Like,
Yes, they would.
they'd be like, what the fuck is going on? Anyways, moving on. Let's move on with it. And get into the impact
Well,
on the locals and oh, sorry, go ahead.
based on the tax thing, people get so used to things. They add something in for a generation, and then their generation's children find that to be the normal. So then it just sticks. That's just how it happens, right? So whenever they start adding taxes into everything, they're like, yeah, this is what we do. This is just the normal life, Like, think about smartphones. Our parents didn't have them, then we got them, and then our children are like, yeah, this is just a part of society now. This is just how it exists. So same thing with taxes. Um, they fucking suck. Let's be clear, because you buy a house and then you have to pay to own your house for the rest of your life. It's insane. But
Yeah, taxation
anyway,
is theft, bro. Taxation is theft.
yes,
Um,
it is.
so moving on though, because we're let's get into the human health aspect of this stuff. So there are we're only going to touch on certain things just because it's going to be kind of like generally across the board. I will touch on a couple of more hyper focused situations in the health aspect for what it does to people.
Do you
But
have stories about it affecting people? Do you have like testimonials? I can just do the issues that it gives you.
yeah. Do you want to start with like the drinking water part of it?
Well, I want to do it specifically. Ingesting jet fuel can do to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, for starters, it gives you the gastrointestinal irritation. So you're going to be nauseous, you'll be vomiting, you'll have abdominal pain, you'll have diarrhea. Then you're going to have respiratory issues. So you'll be wheezing and coughing. You'll be short of breath for a very long time, possibly the rest of your life. And then you'll have throat irritations, which are hives inside of your throat. You'll have neurological effects. So you'll permanently have vertigo. You'll have headaches. You'll be confused. You'll end up having seizures if you ingest too much, and you'll also just straight up die. You'll have liver and kidney damage. So your livers will fail, your kidneys will fail. You have a very extraordinarily high risk of getting cancer, such as leukemia. There are several other ones as well. So you'll have fatigue, eye irritation, skin irritation, hives, rashes, bleeding. So the list goes on. Like, once you start ingesting jet fuel at a high rate, you begin to just melt and deteriorate into nothing.
Damn. Damn, dude. Anything
Yeah,
else you want to expand upon
that is
within
it.
that?
That is it. I just wanted to give you the health issues that actually happens from ingesting jet fuel.
Damn. That's fucking insane. It's really that's just horrible, dude. It's just
It's
fucking horrible.
abhorrent. It's abhorrent. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, the water's safe now. People are. It's been 3 years and people are still not able to drink their own water in their house. They don't feel safe enough. They don't feel like that they've done a good job. Over 3 months, the Navy completely drained Oahu's drinking water and then refilled it with drinkable water. But I mean, come on, once you get punished so bad for just living, and then they lie to you about it, why would you go back and trust them? I wouldn't, for one. I would want to always have my bottled water and always have my safe drinking water in my house. I would never ever trust my own home's water again.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to boil my own shower water and use a water sump to shower with. It's like you're camping in your own house, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I sympathize with these people so desperately because it is a horrible way to live now.
Yeah, so with that all being said, so one of the deals with the impact on human health in the residents, so so basically a lot of the health issues that are at play over there right now are respiratory problems, neurological disorders, and increased cancer risk. So like there's already been cases like there's been a sorry, excuse me, just in the past year, like past 12 months in that area, the number of cancer cases, like we're talking about new cancer cases, where some people didn't have any history, like family history of cancer, things like that. All of a sudden, everyone's getting like they're getting stomach cancer. And
Yeah.
it's literally like there's so many cases of stomach cancer that have been caught over the past just the past 12 months is what this study says when they were from this monitoring they did over the past 12 months. Literally cancer percentages of people who have stomach cancer and colon cancer and a couple other ones that had to do with your internal organs um apparently was under 3%, under 3% just in the past like 50 years over there. Just in the past year, it now just the past 12 months, it's jumped up to 9.5%.
Oh my God.
That's how much cancer has developed in that area just in the past 12 months. And we're not even talking people who where it's been caught yet or they were able to find it starting. That's not saying that someone who doesn't have cancer right now, you never know, next month they may have it. The cancer may have finally developed enough to where it has become volatile to where you can detect the cancer. And that could be next month. And that's not even going into previously before the last 12 months. What about when this thing actually started? Back in like end of 2020 going into 2021. So it's just like that right there is so fucking terrifying. Not even just
Yeah.
terrifying. One, horrible. It's atrocious. It's abhorrent. Like like people should be held accountable for this. And the question is, it's like how would you hold someone accountable for this? Like what would be the proper punishment, you could say? Because it's like you can't just find one person, right? You can't just put one person in jail because it's the military. What you're dealing with is that you have one person who follows orders. He has to do what his fucking superior tells him. If he doesn't do what his superior fucking tells him, then it's called a court martial, motherfucker. Like you defy and go against your orders. Like there are severe repercussions for that in the military. Like so the thing I'm wondering is that like how would you even pin down who to get in trouble for this? Because it's always there's so much easily and readily capable narrative for pass the buck kind of concept because they can say, well, I was doing what my boss told me to do and I had to do it, blah, 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 like the person who runs that facility, right? Then it goes to that person. They're like, oh, nope, we're going off the standard of the blah, 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 which was established by this so-and-so. And then it goes to this person. And this person's like, well, as you can see, like I'm pretty disconnected from that situation over there. I'm just the person who handles this side of things over here and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just putting forth the things that are supposed to be in place due to what this person put in place over here. And then they go to that person. They're like, oh, this person died in 1954. Who's going to get in trouble?
I think the military complex should be in trouble. They
Oh,
should
yeah,
they should
for
have
sure.
to they should have to pay for these people's medical expenses for the rest of their lives. But the issue is we as citizens pay them through our taxes. So technically we pay for all of their mistakes and all of their errors.
Well, think about
So
this. Think about this.
yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Think
you're
about
good.
this. Well, you just said like, oh, we should be paying. They should be paying for their medical bills. They'll fight you tooth and nail on it. Be like, oh no, that's so much money, but we'll go and give $6 billion fucking dollars to some other country that's a fucking communist. Like fuck all. You know what I mean? No, it's a bunch of bullshit. They no one, dude. The government does not care about the American people. Like plain and simple. I hope some people can get this through their fucking heads. These pro-government people who are like, "Oh, the government's your friend. More government involvement in your life." I'm like, you're an ignorant, dumb fuck. Because holy shit, like this is a good example. Like, because it
So with
plays
the
into the
law,
other things.
it does with the lawsuit that they have out right now. There are 7,000. There are more than 7,500 claimants. The case is seeking compensation for pain and suffering, medical care, lost income, and emotional distress. It's aiming specifically at the Navy for negligence in maintaining the fuel tanks and claims that the water is contaminated still.
Um,
The federal trial begins on April 2024, so that is last month.
yeah, it just happened
That's
like
probably,
a week and a half ago.
it's probably going to go into several
Oh
years
yeah,
of
dude. This several
lawsuit.
years of bullshit. But with just we got about 5 minutes left to get through this, but I
Let's
wanna
plug our
share.
socials.
Oh yeah, plug our socials. Check us out on TikTok, Smartly and Educated. Look us up on the Tiki Tooks. Um, and then we're also
Anywhere
on
where you find,
Spotify.
yeah, anywhere where you find podcasts, we are going to be there. So just go look anywhere where you listen, anywhere you want. Tell your grandmother, tell your friends, post this, share this around, force people to listen to it, indoctrinate them, make them listen.
What he said.
Join the cult.
Thank you. Yes, join the cult. We have really good Kool-Aid here too. So we don't put any extras additives in it. Trust me. There's no jet fuel in our
Just
fruit punch.
disclaimer: this is not a cult.
Not a cult. ATF. Don't come to my house. Fuck you guys. But anyways, so with all that being said, I have one last thing I want to drop on just so people kind of get a good feel for the impact on this, other than what we already talked about. Dude, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are medically compromised right now in Oahu from this. There's a one case I read about where it's this little child who was hospitalized for basically, I think got hospitalized like in the first after the first month, once the leak was like really prominent or whatever, and had gotten in enough into the water supply, enough of it gotten in, and she's been hospitalized for like a long time. It was just a year ago that now she doesn't have to be hospitalized. She can go home. But the thing is, she has to go still back to the hospital like every other day, or it's like every couple of days, and she has to go through these different tests and like treatments for these other like side effects that she's been getting. And this is like a little child, man. And she like I know that I can't remember all the details about it, but basically it affected her on a neurological level. She got hit with like a quadruple whammy, dude. So she's got the
Mhm.
neurological issues that are happening from it. She's also got the respiratory issues. Now she's like constant. She has to use an inhaler now at this point. Before she was on like this machine that was helping her lungs for a long time. And then now she's enough to where she's like on this inhaler and she has to use like a bottle of oxygen and like shit like that. And then yeah, dude, it's so bad. There's more. There's so much more that's going on. So I'm only saying, I know it's kind of like a downer to add that on the end, but I really want everyone to understand who listens to this to like look into this thing. Um, I feel like the only way something like this could get changed is where when people start to band together about it and actually like create a show of force. Bring your voices together as one instead of being these like scattered quiet whispers that they are before they're all together as one. No one listens. So I'm just saying, I figured I'd throw it out there so you guys could understand. Like, and that's just one child. That's not. There are thousands and thousands others of adults and children that are getting fucked up in the same way. So, just throwing that out there. Just throwing it out there. But back to you, Evan. Look at you, so proper.
Hi.
Hi. I saw you were
How's it
looking
rate?
something up.
Although we have a sad story on our hands, we should all be thankful for the things we have. Anyway,
Yep. Be thankful that Smartly and Educated covered this and you got informed. We are awesome. There you go. Just if you ever want to learn about the Anunnaki, though, you're probably better off going somewhere else. Just saying, just a little bit. We have 2 episodes about the Anunnaki. Go check them out. They're so informative. You have no idea. Greatest DJ in the galaxy. Find out about rave clubs, space ecstasy. Like, hell yeah, dude. Like, I'm here for that shit.
and a lot of interspecies mingling.
Aliens with 3 tits. Nice.
Hey, it's on Kong Pao. I like that movie a lot.
Thanks, bro. Oh, wait, what?
the movie
Anyways.
Kong Pao. Oh, anyway.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Anyways, that's it for this episode. I know it was like a little bit less humor than normal. But
Well,
you know what?
You got to keep them guessing, right? You got to keep them guessing. Never know what we're going to get here.
Russian roulette. Anyways, we will catch you guys on the flip side. We are out. You gonna say bye, Evan?
Bye-bye.
Oh, whoa, I caught that on camera. Evan is training to join the circus for a juggling act.
Cholula packets specifically.
That way, when they land on his forehead, because he doesn't catch, they explode and looks like he got shot in the head. Congratulations.
Then I can fall over like I'm like an embarrassed clown. Anyway.
All right, we'll
Bye,
catch
everybody.
you guys later. Bye-bye.